so good to be with you guys on such great circumstances. As I was looking at the screen getting ready to come in here, I saw that there was a few people waiting. So you guys are amazing. Still waiting after all these years. You guys are awesome, and I appreciate you so much. It's kind of cool to get the old team back together, huh? The old club that we had going here for a while. So nice to see you all. I've debated on how to do this live tonight. I want to interact with you guys and answer questions and talk to you guys a little bit and read what you guys have to say. But also I want to kind of talk about this journey that we've all been on together. And I know most of you that are here tonight have pretty much heard the entire story of how Tyson Draper got involved with the Suzanne Morphew case and everything that transpired. But there may be some of you out there that don't know the story, or there might be some gaps. Maybe some of you joined later on and you didn't really hear, about this or that or whatever. So I kind of just like to recap the entire situation. And I don't think you guys are going to mind, are you? Hi, guys. I see your comments, guys. Hi, everybody. I love you. I've missed you. You guys are amazing. I'm sorry I'm not going to be able to answer everybody, but just want you guys to know that I appreciate your comments so much. But for those of you who don't know, my name's Tyson Draper, and I somehow ended up involved with the Suzanne Morphew case. And honestly, it was one of the highlights of my life in terms of meeting people, all coming together for one purpose, and just having so many amazing experiences and so many miracles happen along the way. And how it all started is kind of coming full circle all the way back around, because now the trial is going to be in Alamosa, which is pretty much where this started for me. Kind of. It's not exactly, because it really started in Arizona, but I'll spare you all the details in Arizona, and I'll just jump to how I ended up in Colorado and kind of what transpired from there. You guys okay with that? We good? My attention span is so short now from TikTok, but we used to do videos on here that were like hours long sometimes. And now I'm like, man, how did we do that? I mean, I can get on here and talk for an hour or so, but I don't know how you guys listen to me for an hour. So thank you so much. Because that's hard to do nowadays. But I don't know, somewhere along in 2015, let's say, I found myself hanging around southern Colorado, and mostly the Alamosa area. Let me put my headphones in. Maybe you guys can hear me a little bit better. Hold on. I forgot I was charging my phone. Let's see if that helps. But yeah, I started meeting people in Alamosa and making friends there. And I would spend some time there, especially the summers, because obviously I'm from Arizona. It's really hot here, and so I'd rather go up there where it was nice and cool. And it was during one of these trips up there that I was on my way home, and I stopped in Pagosa Springs. And some of you people that are from Salida and other parts of Colorado, you'll know where that is. It's beautiful country. It's over the Wolf Creek Pass. Absolutely some of the most beautiful country probably in the world, the Rocky Mountains. But I just got tired of driving, and so I stopped in Pagosa Springs this one particular night. I think it was just a summer night. Maybe let's just say like, actually I could tell you exactly when it was. It was about this time, about June. And so I was staying the night in Pagosa Springs, and I used to just camp out in my truck. I have a camper on it, and I'd just sleep back there and just go explore. It was really a neat experience. Pagosa Springs is a beautiful place. But anyway, one night when I was laying there in bed, I had been studying some true crime cases, and mostly the Chad Daybell case, the Lori Daybell case, because it was here in Arizona. You know, they were LDS Mormons, so was I. So that was like another intriguing aspect about that case. So it kind of sucked me in. It was brand new, and I was looking at that case. I was looking at other cases. I don't know. There was something about true crime that just really drew me in. You know, kind of like you guys. You guys like to watch this stuff on YouTube and TV and stuff, and so I started looking up these true crime cases, and a brand new one had just popped up in Colorado. It popped up on the news when I was looking at it that night, and it said 49-year-old Suzanne Morphew disappeared during a bike ride on Mother's Day, and her family's desperately trying to find her. You know, I think it said something like they were from Indiana originally, and they moved to Maysville, Colorado. Kind of gave just a short little article, but it was enough to suck me in because I was laying there in Colorado, and I wondered if I was, you know, relatively close in proximity to where this was happening. Because I knew there was a search party too. People came out from Indiana. And this is prior to Andy's search. This was like the original search. You guys remember when people came out from Indiana and other places and helped bury? And anyway, so that's what search that was. And so I decided to go. I decided to go back. And but let me tell you something. I know I've said this before, but this is the most important part of this. I really didn't want to go because I looked at the map and Salida was a long ways away. And it was kind of like backtracking. I mean, I could have went up, you know, over the mountains and went a different way, but it was like way out of my way at that time. But I kept getting this strong feeling that I should go back and try to help with this search party. And so I kind of thought about it all night, slept on it, and I thought when I woke up the next morning that feeling would be gone, and I'd just, you know, continue on to Arizona. But when I woke up the next day, that feeling was a lot stronger, like 100 times stronger. Just go back. And so I just followed that feeling. And I went back over Wolf Creek Pass. I went through all those little towns, and then I dropped down into the beautiful Salida area about dark. And so I parked in the Walmart parking lot right there in Salida, Colorado. And I went to sleep. Stayed the night there. And the next morning I got up and I went out to the search where they were searching for Suzanne out in Maysville. And at this point, I didn't even know where Barry and Suzanne's house was. I mean, I knew where it was location-wise, but there were several houses like tucked back in there, and I didn't know which one it was. So I went up there and I was driving around and I was making some of my very first videos. Because, see, I didn't even really plan on having all of this happen. I was just documenting my experiences just to kind of see how it was going to go. It was beautiful country. It was an interesting thing that I was doing, you know, trying to find out what happened to this missing woman just like 3 weeks before. So anyway, I was up driving around up close to their house making these videos, and this is the day before I saw Barry, like, and talked to him. So hold on a minute, don't get confused here, okay? So I stopped right there where you pull out at the 50 and that other road, whatever that is. And I saw one or two, I think it was two cars there. It was a silver truck, Ford truck, and like a black car. That's all I remember. And I walked up to the silver truck and I was looking at it real closely, and I looked in the back of the pickup, like the bed, and the windows were a little tinted, but you could still kind of see in there. And I didn't see anybody in there. It was just like a vacant truck, and I think that was pretty normal because it was a popular biking trail. So I just thought, well, somebody parked right here and rode their bike. And I was talking to the camera like I am right now, holding it up like this, and I was saying, yeah, I think Barry Morphew's house is right over there, and I was pointing in that direction and just kind of making this video, and didn't think anything about it. And I walked about maybe 100 feet and started rounding the corner, and all of a sudden that truck started up. It started and it started driving towards me. And it came around the corner and it started coming, like creeping up behind me real slow. And I noticed before this, when I was up there by the truck, I noticed that it had an Indiana license plate. So I started thinking maybe this is Barry Morphew's truck, because I had read the night before that they were from Indiana. Remember, I just said that. And so I started thinking about it, like putting all this stuff together in my brain real quick as this truck's like going by real slow. And sure enough, I turned around and I looked right through the windshield and I looked right through the passenger window and I saw Barry Morphew. Clear as day. 100%. It was him. And he had the most distraught look on his face that I've ever seen. And he had no shirt on. And he was bright red, like he had just gotten out of the water. And the water, of course, even though it's June, the water's really cold in Colorado at that time of year. So it made his skin really red. And I don't know who was in the passenger seat, but there was somebody there, and then there was one person in the back. And they just drove on by, and I got a good look at the license plate, and it said Indiana. And I just thought, wow, that's pretty interesting. I wonder where they were. I didn't see them in the truck. Did they pop out of the creek? Did they pop out of the woods? Where'd these people come from? Kind of freaked me out a little bit. And so then I said, well, it's starting to get dark, or whatever. I said, I'm not doing any good out here. I made some videos. I saw like the crime scene tape, saw a few other things, made some quick videos, and then I left and I went back to Walmart in Salida. And I stayed the night there in the parking lot again. And I went back the next day, and right as I got out of my truck, I parked in the same spot by the 50, and I walked down the hill, later to find out that's where they found Suzanne's bike. At the time, I didn't even know it. I walked around that corner, went over the bridge, I looked up, ladies and gentlemen, and I saw that very same truck coming towards me. That same truck that I saw the day before. Silver Ford F-150. And I knew immediately that that was Barry again. And so I started my camera. I had a GoPro, and I said, I'm going to get him on tape to see what he says about his missing wife, because something inside wasn't sitting right with me. I got a weird feeling about it all when I was reading about it. And so I got the camera going, and he pulls up, and I told him to stop. I put up my hand, and he did, and he rolled down the window, and an older woman was sitting in the passenger seat, and he was driving the truck, of course. And I looked at him and I said, "Are you Barry Morphew?" And I know I've said this before, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm going to say it again.
When he looked at me when I said that, I knew immediately that something wasn't right by the look on his face and the feeling that I got at that time. Like I knew instantly. And so he started to get a little nervous, that I knew his name. And so he parked the truck right there in the middle of the road. He put it in park and got out, left the truck running, left his mom sitting in the passenger seat. And we were right there where they found Suzanne's bike. And he says, let me show you what happened. And he saw me recording. And he says, turn that off, please. He says, I don't want anybody recording me. He almost left when he saw the camera. He almost took off. And so I reached in my pocket and I touched it, but I didn't turn it off. I just kind of left it going right there. And I didn't know at that point if it was on or off, ladies and gentlemen, because my camera had a kind of a glitch in it from the moment I bought it from the store, brand new, and it would turn off by itself. And so I was hoping that it was still going. I was hoping and praying that it was still recording, because he said, let me show you what happened. And he started walking me up the hill, and we got right to, halfway up the hill, and he went over to the ledge and he said, right down there is where they found her bike. And I said, really? Wow. And he said, yeah. He says, we don't know what happened. He said a mountain lion could have got her, or she could have been riding up the hill and a car came around the corner real fast and she tumbled down and fell into the creek, and then, something happened to her from there. And I didn't say a word, ladies and gentlemen. I was just in shock that he was actually opening up and telling me so much information. It was weird because, again, I felt like he was trying to hide something, and it didn't sit right with me. And so he continued to talk about different theories that he had that could have happened to Suzanne, like a mountain lion got her, or she fell into the creek and maybe she got washed away. Then he started telling me about how they've already searched this area over here, as he pointed to his right, and then they searched the area behind us. And so he was kind of steering me where to go and telling me what to do. And it was pretty interesting. And I was nervous because, mostly just because of the feeling that I had. And I was getting ready to ask him a bunch more questions and get more information out of him, but all of a sudden a car pulled up behind his mom, who's still sitting in his truck, and began honking the horn. And so Barry got startled and he started walking back down the hill. And so our conversation got cut short. But it was enough information, ladies and gentlemen, to get the ball rolling on this case. It was intriguing enough to enough people that pretty soon Mike King came along. You guys will remember Mike King from Profiling Evil. He came along and he had a brand new channel on YouTube, and he saw the Suzanne Morphew case and he saw my videos, and so he got a hold of me and he said, hey Tyson, my name's Mike, and he introduced himself. And we hit it off from the very beginning. Mike King is a great man. And he said, I want to do what I can to try to raise awareness for this case. So he started asking me about my encounter with Barry. And he only had at that time like maybe 100 followers or something. He was just starting out. And so that was one of the first stories he put on his channel. And all of a sudden he exploded. And Suzanne Morphew's story exploded. And we all kind of just exploded together, really. Some of us were like, bigger explosions than others. And Mike definitely was one of those big fireworks where he was actually on Dr. Phil and all kinds of national shows, and he got a lot of followers on YouTube. And so I was happy for him. And not only that, but he became a trusted ally for the Morphew family. For the Mormon family, which is Suzanne's family. Because Somebody else was watching our videos. His name was Andy Mormon from the Anderson, Indiana area. And that's Suzanne's brother. And he started watching our videos. And so he started reaching out to Mike King, asking him to kind of be a mediator for him and kind of a spokesperson for the family, which I thought was really cool because it showed the level of trust that they had in Mike. And so anyway, the Suzanne Morphew story started to spread. And I'm not on here saying all this to try to take any type of credit, because I give all the credit to God. And I give all the credit to those people who have passed beyond this life, beyond the veil, however you want to look at it. People like Suzanne. I truly believe, ladies and gentlemen, that people are there helping us and inspiring us and leading and guiding us. So that's kind of how the Suzanne Morphew story began for me. And we just started to ride this wave where I started documenting my experiences. I started spending more time in the Salida area, making videos, doing searches, mostly just to raise awareness. And it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun, met a lot of people. It was a difficult time in my life personally where, I was juggling a lot of different things, but we all came through on the other side, and here we are. This is the final chapter, ladies and gentlemen. But during the course of all this, I started covering other cases, and one of them was the Nick Cordova case out of Gilbert, Arizona, which happened just before the Suzanne Morphew case, right about the time COVID hit, March of 2020. Nick Cordova was brutally murdered in Gilbert, Arizona. And I thought it was pretty interesting that all that we've been through with Gilbert, Arizona, that happens to be the place where Barry Morphew is eventually arrested for the murder of Suzanne. Ladies and gentlemen, you cannot make this stuff up. This is incredible. All the different coincidences, or there's like a thread, it just weaves all throughout these cases. Just a minute ago I mentioned the Lori Vallow case. Think about that. That all happened in Gilbert, Arizona. Most of it. Then they moved to Idaho, of course, but Charles Vallow was killed in Gilbert, Arizona, shot by Alex Cox, the brother of Lori, right there on the living room floor. That happened in Gilbert. Then Alex Cox, the guy who shot Charles, died in Gilbert, Arizona at Zulema's house. You guys will remember that story, Zulema, who, I was trying to get a hold of for a long time to talk about what happened to JJ and Tylee, and she wouldn't talk to the press, she wouldn't talk to anybody. But anyway, she ended up calling the cops on me one time. You guys may have seen the video, but she called the cops on me for going out in front of her house and trying to interview her. Like, that's what the news does, right? That's what the news stations used to do. Go park on the street and try to talk to people. But she felt like I was doing something wrong, so she called the cops. And so I got the body cam footage and posted it on there online, trying to find out. That's when JJ and Tylee were still buried in the backyard of Chad Daybell's house in Idaho. We didn't know it at the time. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that's another case that happened in Gilbert. And then we brought Chappie on here. How many of you guys remember Chappie? He was my cousin, is my cousin, but we kind of had a little trio thing going on here where we had me and Dusty and Chappie. And Chappie grew up in Gilbert, Arizona, just down the road, literally a stone's throw away from where Nick Cordova was murdered. That was another coincidence. Then we have the Gilbert Police Department, who can't solve a crime to save their lives. Might be one of the worst police departments in the nation in terms of solving anything. or getting anything done. First in the nation in corruption, perhaps. Why did Barry go to Gilbert? Maybe because they have such an awful police force. He'd go hide out over there. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what Barry was doing in Arizona. I didn't know he was in Arizona for the last couple years. That's what I read. He was living in a trailer park in Cave Creek, Arizona, which is on your way to Flagstaff. But somehow he got nabbed in Gilbert. And I thought, man, what a fitting end to all of this. Got arrested right here in my backyard. And the trial is now coming full circle, coming back to Alamosa, where it all started for me, ladies and gentlemen, where I was hanging out with my friends, spending time in Alamosa, trying to get things fixed with my daughter to where I could see her, and overcome the mountain of lies that were told by her family. This small LDS community out in southern Colorado called Manassas. It's a little teeny tiny town, but most of the majority of the time I spent in Alamosa. And now Barry's trial is coming back to Alamosa. Everything's coming back full circle, ladies and gentlemen. Too many coincidences. Another coincidence, I don't know if I ever even told you guys this, but right before all this happened, like 2018, I think, I bought a house in Marion, Indiana. And I bought it sight unseen. It was just a cheap house, and I was flipping houses at the time, and I decided to take a chance on this one. It was the first house I've ever done out of the state of Arizona. And I bought it on eBay, of all places. I bought a house on eBay. And I get there, middle of the night, and it's not what I expected. Like, this town is there's a lot of people just wandering around, like, looks like a lot of drugs and I'm sure they have nice areas too, but I was kind of cruising around downtown. And so I took off. I was like, man, I don't know if I could stay here overnight because I didn't know anything about the house. And so I left and I drove back like 20 minutes to this little town called Anderson, Indiana. And I stayed the night there in a hotel. And then I went back. And anyway, to make a long story short, I went ahead and fixed up the house and flipped it and made a little money on it. It was a whole nother great experience. But I thought, man, how crazy is that? I was in this small town of Anderson, Indiana, right there where Suzanne Morphew grew up. And didn't know it at the time. None of this even happened at the time. But it's just another one of those crazy coincidences. And then later on in the story, when Mike King became friends with Andy Mormon, Suzanne's brother, and they came out and they did the search, I think it was Mike, one of them, or maybe it was a son-in-law, or somebody got a hold of me and said, hey, Andy wants to invite you and your brother to this mini 500 race. It's a mini Indianapolis 500 in Anderson, Indiana, and he's got 2 tickets for you. It's kind of a big deal in that town. You know, the Indy 500, but this is on a smaller scale. But the people got this racetrack out in the middle of nowhere, but it's like they love it. Like, there's just thousands and thousands of people there just enjoying this. And so we got the tickets and we went out to Indiana, and we got a chance to go to this race. And we went to Delphi, and we went on the Monon High Bridge where Abby and Libby were murdered. You know that story, the Delphi murders. That wasn't too far from where we were in Indiana. So that's what I meant when I said earlier, ladies and gentlemen, that there's just like a common theme that weaves throughout all these cases. And I truly believe that that's God, that's just God leading us to all these different places, and all these different things are happening, and all these people on the other side of the veil are there assisting. If you believe in that kind of thing, if not, that's okay too. I mean, nobody knows for sure, but man, I tell you what, I just felt that presence so many times. Not just Suzanne Morphew's, but also Nick Cordova's, Abby and Libby when I was on that bridge. Oh my gosh, man. And I just have so many cool experiences, and I'm so grateful for them, for the things that I've learned. I'm grateful that all these cases are starting to see justice. That, you know, we had justice for JJ and Tylee, for Tammy Daybell, Charles Vallow, now Suzanne, hopefully soon Nick Cordova. And then I think once all that happens, ladies and gentlemen, and we get justice for all these people, so let's hope that it's very, very soon, I think I'm going to be done with true crime. It's been fun and all, and I love doing it, and I love you guys, but I just don't think I'm really that passionate about it as much anymore. I'm just kind of on to other things now, but I'll never forget all the times that we had together, ladies and gentlemen. Mostly ladies. I don't know if there's any gentlemen in here. I mostly had ladies that followed me, so you guys are great. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to say on here, because I'm not sure how many more times I'm going to do this, guys. Oh, I was going to tell you, you know, along the way, we had a lot of people start joining up with this case. We had Adventures with Purpose. They came out and they had scuba gear and they searched the lakes and all that. We had Gonzo, who was always out doing his thing, and there was probably way more who came along after me, but we were kind of like the OGs on this case. Chris Madonna came along. He was with Mike King there for a while. You know, I don't want to say anything bad about anybody, especially in this closing video, but I really think that Chris Madonna thought I was involved in the Suzanne Morphew case somehow, because after he saw that video of me and Barry, he thought that we conspired to put it out. I never actually heard him say that, or anybody else, but it was just kind of my gut feeling. And then it kind of like started to manifest itself as we went on. You know, he just, I don't know, he did some things that I just thought were pretty, but one of the things that happened though is I think that he kind of turned law enforcement on me for a little while, because when I was over in Gilbert, Arizona, actually, I saw law enforcement watching me many times, but it was obvious though. Like there was this one time in particular where I was coming out of Walmart, and I always used to park under this shade tree way away from Walmart. I park way over there, out maybe, you know, all the way across the parking lot. And when I got out, I saw these two guys sitting next to my van in a white truck, and they had their hats pulled down real low and they had sunglasses on, and it was obvious that they were just watching me. And so I watched them for a while, seeing what they were up to, and then I left. But before I left, I threw my cup and my trash away in a trash can right there. And I left, and it looked like I got on the freeway and took off, but really I just kind of circled around and I kind of watched them to see what they were doing. And those two guys got out of the white truck and started rummaging through the trash. And this was all during the time that Chris Madonna was involved. So I don't know if there's a connection there, but after that we quit talking and there was kind of a breach of trust. But it was a fun journey, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm glad I took this journey with all of you. I can't guarantee it, but I'll probably at some point be up in Alamosa, Colorado during Barry's trial. So check back often. I mean, not often, but check back once in a while. See what I'm doing. And see if I make it up there sometime this summer to see what's going on with the Barry Morphew trial. So, you know, I'm this invested now. I can't quit now. I might as well go up there and finish it out and make some videos along the way and document everything for you guys. So, but I think that's pretty much it, ladies and gentlemen. I've kept you on here for almost over a half hour now, 35 minutes. But again, I just want to thank you guys for everything that you've done for me. It's been an amazing journey. You can see I have way more gray hairs than when I did when this started. My hair is way shorter. Maybe I made it through my rebel stage. Maybe I'm ready to go over the hill now and enjoy my, my midlife crisis or whatever, my 50s, coming up pretty soon. But anyway, God bless you guys. Sure do love you. Take care.